certain terminologies you should be aware of, like a difference between production and productivity. You need to know difference between these two terminologies. They've had specifically mentioned it in your syllabus. They've taken it out. It's not there specifically, but again, it's a key distinction that you should know. What is production versus what is productivity? Production is simply the total output produced. Okay, it's the total output produced. While productivity, this is a measure of efficiency. There's a formula to calculate productivity. It's simply productivity का formula is productivity is equals to total output. उसको आपने डिवाइड कर लेना है total input से. Whatever your input is, we'll have a slight discussion on this in just a bit as to what kind of input are we talking about. So production is कि given resources के साथ आपने total कितनी production की है. Productivity will be measured. For example, I say there is a business A. ठीक है, business A ने resources के point of view से they've used 10 units, okay, of resources, and they have produced say 40 units of the output, and firm B ने resources let's say use किए हैं सेम 10 यूनिट्स और उसने प्रोड्यूस किया है 20 units. So the question is production कितनी है? Okay, how much is the production? And then you have to find out productivity of A, firm A, and productivity of firm B. So in our case, the total production is 60 units. 40 by firm A and 20 by firm B. Now, who's more productive? Who was more efficient? Now, that's productivity. It's a measure of efficiency. And to solve this, firm A की productivity कैसे निकालें? You take 40, you divide it by the input, which is the resource 10. So per resource, you are producing 4 units. That's your productivity. While on the other hand, firm B is using 10 resource to produce just 20. तो उसकी हो गई productivity of 2 units. So the question was, who is more productive? And you would say firm A is more productive. When we are doing measure productivity के point of view से, well, there are various ways or there are various resources. So productivity you can measure for your resources. Now resources में या inputs के अंदर you have labor, तो आप labor productivity निकाल सकते हो. लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी कैसे निकालोगे कि आपने देखना है टोटल आउटपुट कितना है और उसको फिर यू कैन डिवाइड it by total number of labor and you will get to know that how much output is being produced per labor. Sometimes जैसे एग्रीकल्चर के अंदर it's not labor productivity but rather it might be what is the land productivity. Even land is a resource. Agriculture के अंदर you might be like per acre how much output am I getting, and I have 10 acres let's say. So I'll take my total output that I've produced on my 10 lands and I will divide it by the total number of land, and that's how I will get my land productivity. मेरा तीसरा resource is machines, capital. I can find out my capital productivity. And for that, I will simply take the total output that I have produced and I'll divide it by the total number of capital. And I will get my per machine output that I've produced. So you can use any of these. अगर उन्होंने resource दिया है simply divide by resource. Input बोला है simply divide by input. अगर labor productivity चाहिए तो number of labor. अगर land productivity so number of land. Capital productivity, number of capital. So for land, let's say they've given you an example that you have produced, let's say 3,000 kgs of oranges on 5 acres of land. तो अगर मुझे इसकी productivity निकालनी है तो I'm basically doing per acre how much output am I getting. So I'll divide and I'll say per acre I'm getting 600 kgs of oranges. Well, oranges are in dozen, I think. But that's how you're going to deal with this idea. So if the question is about how can you increase your productivity, okay? How can you increase your productivity? The answer is in my formula. Formula is total output over total input. If I want my productivity to rise, let me make an arrow and show it. If I want my productivity to rise, I have to find ways to either increase my output, right? If I increase my output, automatically my productivity mathematically is going to go up. Or if I decrease my total number of inputs somehow, by putting less resource and getting more output, my productivity can rise. Now there can be techniques for it. Inputs के अंदर I can use newer technology. Agriculture के अंदर I can come up with these, fertilizers and ureas and stuff like that जो productivity तेज करते हैं. Better material का use कर लेना. ज़्यादा अच्छा skilled labor use कर लेना. It's not about the number of labor, it's about the quality of the labor.